Good morning and welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're back with the Battle of the Bands. 2 new bands today, another battle. Today's battle features Budgie's Night Flight, which was released in October of 1981, and Blackfeather's Mountain of Madness, released in 1971. So for those of you who are not familiar with what we're doing here, we have 2 albums given to me by Ben, hard rock albums in this case, and the whole Battle of the Bands is hard rock albums. And I listen to both and then decide which one I like the best. It's pretty simple, right? So again, we have 2 albums here. I'll talk a little bit about Budgie first because they were the one given to me first. So Budgie has 9 tracks on this album. And for the most part, they're almost heavy metal-ish. For the most part, especially near the beginning. The first half of the album is very strong. Lots of kind of really heavy riffing, and Bert Shelley, who's the vocalist bass player for the band, is kind of really strong on this part of the album. And this part of the album I like quite a bit too, the first half. Second half of the album kind of takes a bit of a downward turn for me. Anyways, lots of small acoustic bits at periodical interludes. Excuse me. Early morning, I'm not really fully awake yet. Anyways, yeah, lots of kind of acoustic bits thrown in there, followed by lots of heavy guitar riffing. And then towards the end of the album, I just find that it's like they put the best songs at the front, and then the backside is just kind of loosely thrown in whatever we can do stuff. That's the feeling I get from it. Okay, the first track, I Turn to Stone. This is very metal-like guitar solo in this song. It opens that with that acoustic guitar bit. The vocals from Bert Shelley are very Geddy Lee-like range, like way up there. And it's got a really heavy guitar riff. This is actually my favorite song on either of the 2 albums, to be honest with you. I like it quite a bit. It got a 7, which is pretty high for me for a first listen. The next track, Keep a Rendezvous, some more heavy guitar, almost a metal sound to this song. Very heavy guitar solo on this as well. The Reaper of Glory, this has a very more bluesy sound to the heaviness of it, so kind of more rocky, I guess. Their vocals were very strong. There's a bit of a dual part too. I think the second guy, or whoever does the backing vocals here, does a strong part in supporting him. Another good solo, and yeah, just a really solid track. There's a little bit of a keyboard bit I think I'm hearing in here. It's very faint, so it's hard to tell, but that's what it sounds like. It could be some echoing from the guitars as well. I'm not sure. This is another track I liked quite a bit as well. She Used Me Up is the next track. It's kind of slow and methodical, and guitar riff it's catchy. Yeah, I like this song too. And the rest of the tracks, Don't Lay Down and Die, Apparatus, Superstar. Those 3 tracks are, to me, the weaker tracks on the album. I don't really care much nor remember much about them, except for Apparatus is kind of a quiet kind of power pop, almost like a ballad, which I didn't care for at all. And then the last 2 tracks, Change Your Ways and Untitled Lullaby. Well, the Change Your Ways wasn't too bad. It was kind of a step up from the previous 3 songs. I didn't mind that too much, but the last one is just an acoustic instrumental and not particularly memorable. So there you have it. That's Budgie. So Budgie's a very heavy band. definitely bordering on metal in some cases. Their music is very heavy riffed as well. So if you like that kind of borderline metal sound, this is the band that you will enjoy. Okay, on to Black Feather, Mountain of Madness. 6 tracks on this album. This album has some bluesy parts to it. I think the vocalist is very good, but the production on the album, not so good. His voice sounds strained and almost AM-ish on this, like very monotone. The guitars were the same, I think. Just not great production in my estimation. I don't think it was that great of a production. It sounds very dated as well. But the album is from 1971, so, I cut it some slack there. Didn't really like any of the tracks on this album except for maybe Long-Legged Lover, because it had a great guitar riff to it. Kind of some dark vocal sound so that it's not as high pitched, and some real catchy riffs. And it builds, but I think the song, what kills this song is it's a great 4-minute song, but they played it for 8 minutes. So yeah, the last 4 minutes or so was just a little bit of too much for me. I didn't really care for it. The guitar solo is pretty solid on this song as well. So this band is very bluesy, but heavy at the same time. Has elements of, it's almost like I'm listening to a concept, and I'm sure that was their intent, that this be a concept album. I'm not really sure what kind of a concept it is. I didn't put too much energy into it. A bit of it, I'm unenthusiastic with it as a whole. Yeah, there were some good vocal parts, and yes, there was some nice guitar bits on some of the songs, but overall I just found it very thin sounding and not the greatest of production. And the last track, the Rat Suite, was way too long and had too many parts that were unmemorable, and just didn't overly care for the whole song. It was the only song of the 2 albums that I gave a 3 to, which is, tall, is what, when I get to 3s, I just say I'm giving them a 3 as opposed to a 2, 1, or a 0, because there are good parts to the song, but I really am not crazy about the song at all. So most of the rest of the album I gave 4s to, except for the 2 main tracks, Mango Theme Part 2 and Long-Legged Lovely, which were both fairly long tracks, about 7, I think one was 7 minutes, the other one was like 8 minutes. This isn't necessarily a good thing, and in their case it isn't. The 2 tracks are too long. If they'd been half that in length, they might have gotten they might have got more interest out of me. They just dragged way too long, I think. And the first 3 tracks, which were not too long, pretty decent length, but they just weren't that great of songs. There was a couple there, Season of Change Part 1, which had that acoustic bit, which I didn't mind. Almost had an organ-like sound, or might have been a flute, or it could have been a combination of both. I'm not really sure. The vocals were clearer on that track as well, which I think made it a little bit stronger. And the bass and drums were more frontal, so they were out front. Guitar was almost non-existent on this track, though, which hurt it. Yeah, overall, I just found the album a bit on the thin side, and that hurt it. And the volume from trying to listen to it through the internet wasn't great either, so these things conspired against it. So then anyways, it gets down to which one did I like better. Well, the Budgie one kind of blew it out of the water, I think. Probably for the reasons I stated. It was just too thin and not great production, and that hurt it in the long run against this much heavier, some more superior sounding album with the Budgie Night Flight. And Budgie did have, the first half of their album was pretty strong. Second half was a little bit weaker. I don't think it was a bad. I by no means think it was a bad album, but I think the back half, but just not a lot of memorable stuff on it. So anyways, Budgie will be going on to the next round, and Blackfeather will have to go by the way of the dinosaur, as they say. So anyways, this was the first kind of battle that I had between not the greatest. I guess they were a little bit weaker, the bands, but overall Budgie was stronger. Maybe with more severe competition, it might have, and with another listen, it might get better as well. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this battle. If you did, please like, make your comments below, and subscribe if you would like to help and assist me on this thing. It would be much appreciated. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will see you again tomorrow with another Battle of the Bands. So take care.